Start with, I'll call to order and start with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'll do the roll call. Alisa Cigarroa, Chair.
Here.
Mercurio Martinez, Council Member. Dr. Marte A. Martinez, Council Member. Javier C. Villarreal, Resident.
Present.
Felix Velasquez, Resident.
Present.
So yes, we have a majority. There were no public or citizen comments. And so we'll present our staff reports. As well as, Ms. Igarra, if you can't see the presentation, I did send it to you via email. The presentation is also part of your packet in case you can't see.
Yes, they're following along.
Okay.
Thank you.
Why can't I share those? I did say I was gonna share. I'm sorry.
Just state your slide number, slide page that you're on. When you change slides, she can follow through the one you sent her.
So for the third page, it's staff reports, which is Roman numeral 5. And it's a discussion of ongoing audits for the third quarter of fiscal year 2022. The first report that we are going to present, which is also part of your packet right here. It's a complete report of the Special Assignment Field Use License Agreement Compliance Audit. That is the entire final report. It is 30 pages long. What we're going to do is an overview or review of the major findings that we encountered. So, review of Little League and Softball League as per City Council directive given on September 20th, 2021 and February 7th, 2022. The Internal Audit Division conducted a field use license agreement compliance audit of the Parks and Leisure Services Department and the Youth and Softball Sports Leagues organizations registered. The objective was to determine if the leagues have complied with the terms of their respective license agreements and if the Parks Department has been administering and enforcing these license agreements accordingly for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. So in essence, council member, it was a directive by council for us to look over and review the Little League and Softball League applications for them to use our facilities for free. Based upon the audit test work performed, the audit report contains 16 findings along with recommendations. So these 16 findings, basically what we audited was, we looked at the contract. There's a contract for each of the little leagues and baseball leagues.
I have a copy here if you all can see the contract there. This is a little packet that we give the leagues to kind of give you a little, you all want or just, and then you should know it upside down.
So what we did was we reviewed each and every point of the contract, yes, and for each of those, the report is basically each request or requirement, it's either they complied or they did not comply. So these are the most pertinent findings, which is number one, the 7 youth and softball leagues that were reviewed for a total of 14 license agreements, because it is 2 years. It was concluded that the leagues both complied and did not comply with the various provisions written in the license agreements. Basically, they turned in some information, they didn't turn in the information, and you can see it in an exhibit 1 that is part of the report.
I can ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and probably Coach knows this, and you get together with the directors of the league, and you tell them, hey, you're missing this information, you have a deadline to
Right.
comply, and they just don't comply.
Right.
That's as hard as we try to get the information, because I know I used to be a little bit, I used to be a director, and I used to be a little
He was
coach.
involved with Del Mar Little League and.
Del Mar Little League.
So, yes, just to answer your question, so, yes, it's like pulling teeth, right? Sometimes
Right.
with these people and being able to comply, hey, we need this, and they're used to, hey, open the gates and everybody belongs, everybody's on their own. So last couple of years, now then the last 2-3 years, we haven't been tying the screws. Now, you gotta follow a certain process, okay? And you need certain documentation. Has it been challenging? Yes, it has, right? Because they're not used to that. We're used to it, as you said, you already open the gates, Blanquet belonged to Del Mar, and this one belonged to National Little League. So now, as the last couple of years, we got on a checklist, and we're gonna try and get them to comply with what they have, okay? Now, to kind of give you a little brief history, as you can see we did here, in 2021 was COVID year, after COVID year, that was a chaotic year for us, okay? Because they told us in April, hey, April 21st, council goes, April 21st, start the league. Get the kids now, they haven't played in a year, get them going right now. Let them turn in the insurance, and as they play, as they're going, bring in stuff, so. And then, boom, stop him, and I think we stopped him in June because COVID rose again. And they come back and play again in July, because then October hit and stop him again, so. I'm not making excuses for 2021, but it was a very challenging and chaotic, unusual type of season that we had. Because we were trying to meet this, but yet we were like, play as you go, turn in as you go, and that, because we were getting the directive. The kids haven't played in a year.
They want to play.
They don't play, all right? As you know, I'm a coach as well, and I know it's important to go and play. But then I know, understand on the administrative side that we have to follow guidelines, and that's what, and I think this audit actually here made us aware of a lot of things that we can make it up now. Like I told her, I use this as a learning tool that we can, coming next year, we're gonna sit down with audit, and we're gonna sit down with legal, say, okay, let's tighten up the screws and be more clarified. Because if you were to read the contract, it's really broad, right? So, some people background checks, well, for example, which background check? National, local, do I go to ponies, do I go to little leagues? So everybody can kind of tell you. So there's a lot of things that with going through this audit that, yes, I agree, there's some findings that we didn't do, and I think my staff can do a better job of tying the screws and make sure that we do this, and I think we have a process already set. It's just a matter of, if you see the whole thing is, making sure that, put them, for example, on a deadline. Hey, for example, January 20th or 30th, van a entregar todo. That's it. I need everything, because they're used to, me faltó 5 horas, and get started. Let me get started. No, you can't start. You still need to. And it put pressure on our staff too, because I viene National Little League. Hey, I know I'm missing, but you can't start. Well, look, here are my 5 background checks. Stuff, and it is challenging. It is. We've come a long ways. I'll be honest with you. I'm proud of my staff. We've come a long ways. Can we get better? Definitely get better.
Just to follow up on a question of his, when you do advise them that they're missing something, is it all verbal? Is it written?
It's always through email, both.
So,
It's-
okay, you don't send certified letters or anything like that?
No, we don't. We have through emails and we do through contact as well.
Do you do like a read receipt that says that they read the email that
Yes,
it was
yes, sir.
delivered?
Yeah, we have a girl that's just in charge of leaks. Her name is Celia Lara. She tries, she does her best, and now that the council, for example, gave us, now they have to have their own 501c, right?
No
And that was-
umbrella, no umbrellas?
No
No,
umbrellas,
like-
right. So you remember that whenever you had a Delmar, American, they were all piggybacked off of Little League headquarters in Williamsport.
Right.
So, hey, with 501c,
It's hard.
and then how are you gonna manage what money the money comes in and out? You know, so that's one thing that they told us that they have to do.
Yes. So going off on that, that was one of the reasons that this audit was conducted. The status, the 501c3 status for fiscal year 2021, not all leagues provided their own respective 501c3 status, and that's because that wasn't a requirement back then. It became a requirement as of September 2021. And for fiscal year 2022, all 7 leagues complied by providing their own 501c3
Approved?
status. Yes.
It took them a while though. We notified them in October the 1st, and we were getting a lot of pushback. Hey,
Approved by the IRS.
approved by the IRS.
Yes.
Approved by the
It took a
IRS.
while for that to.
No, I know, it did. And Felix, we know, some of them didn't get started till almost the end of May. Little League finished it by first week of June. And with no time to screw, and they were calling councilmen, they were calling, hey, hold the line, guys, hold the line, because you do it one, it's gonna open up the floodgates. So as of right now, we speak, all leagues have their own 501c. So that's, we got a lot of pushback. I got a lot of pushback. I became the most hated guy in sports, you know, when I thought, so, but, I mean, that's why I came over to the administrative side and said, hey, we gotta follow the rules, and I think that's where we stand right now.
All right, thanks.
Do you have any questions, Ms. Igarra?
No, I'm listening in.
Okay,
Thank you.
so the next page has the third finding, which is the 990 form, 990N form status was reviewed. Again, this was a requisite that was put in place in September 2021. So for fiscal year 2021, there was no documentation on file for any of these 7 leagues, and that's because it wasn't a requirement. It was a requirement for this year. However, 2 leagues did comply by submitting their forms. 3 leagues were not in compliance since they submitted a copy of an electronic notice confirmation from the IRS.gov, but no copy of the 990N form was provided. 1 league provided a federal extension from the IRS.gov, but we noticed the EIN is different from their Form 501c3, and 1 league was claiming that they were a new league, that they were a new league, so they didn't have any information to submit. But when we looked into it, they had
Which league is this?
baseball
Laredo
select.
Baseball Select,
Which is that?
Maldonado, Anna Park. Over there in Anna Park, Mr. Maldonado was mainly been there for a couple of years.
Northwest, it used to be Northwest?
No, off of Anna Street by the water municipal, right now
Oh, okay.
there's a park back there, right along, almost along the river.
So in essence, what happened was they changed names and they were saying that they were a completely different league, yet in reality, everything had remained the same. Boards, leagues, president, everything. And the 990s, again, it was a learning curve with coach, his staff, and my staff as well, because we thought, well, turn over your 990. Yet the 990, since it became a requisite this year, it doesn't take into effect until the following year.
Right.
Because I naively thought that it's like your 1030s and your regular income taxes, but it's completely different timeline. Correct me if I'm wrong, Elia, it's September 30th, right, when that's their
Yeah,
cutoff
we
line?
have three leagues that they have, three leagues, the ones that they have the electronic notice. They started the fiscal year like ours, it's September to, no, October the 1st to September the 30th. So those are the three that they will not submit until
I haven't submitted them yet.
Yes.
And just for my information, which are the leagues, the 7 leagues that we're talking about?
You have the report.
I'm sorry.
Is that
at the end,
recording?
And
Okay.
you have an exhibit, page,
Okay, I got you. I follow.
that one, you can guide yourself. And,
Well, we live with a whole bunch of them, but I don't know when the new ones are.
On page 17, I believe.
And the three that weren't compliant, did they try reaching out, or is there any record of them trying to like, or why weren't they compliant? Just that they didn't submit it?
Well,
Were they having issues with it?
okay,
They were having
good.
issues with it. What they submitted was just a copy of the electronic notice confirmation, not necessarily the actual forms.
Just say, hey, we did it.
Exactly.
And in addition, on those three leagues, remember, they were under the umbrella of the prior year, so they, your business card and join, so that's why they're gonna be submitted in the following year. this
So,
time.
right, so now if they don't have them,
Now it's.
now,
Yes.
if by September 30th, they don't turn it, so when we give contract for 2023, and they don't have that 990, then you're sorry, you don't comply with it. Because now there's gonna be no excuse.
Right.
Right, so
And
that was just enforced for 2020, October 1st, 2021 through September 30,
So
2022.
non-compliant, what, you can't use the field?
No. You cannot use the fields for free. This is what the whole thing, for you, if you wanna use the field for free, you have to comply with this.
Yeah.
Right, that's what we asked for.
Okay.
So now, the next page is finding number 4. We had to, we wrapped up our audit May 25th of this year because they, like Coach was saying, they were taking long in submitting the information. So when we closed this audit, 2 of the license agreements had not been signed neither by city managers nor legal. As of right now, Coach, I think all but one
All but one.
has not been signed.
All leagues are signed, contract, everything, signed, sealed, and delivered, for the sake, except one is still being in question because we've had some issues with that league, which is also Anna Park, the Laredo Baseball Select.
So really, we can just summarize from all of the recommendations and the findings that we did with one summary or one conclusion, which is, with a summary of audit results reflected above, we recommended that the process for obtaining a license agreement for city field usage change to incorporate an application process with a possible review by the Parks and Leisure Service Advisory Committee before consideration and approval from City Council every year. The recommendations is within the management's response within the report. They partially agreed to that. What they agreed to was that we suggested for them to think of these applications like the third-party funding that the city does. How that happens is, of course, there are also 501c3s, and they submit an application, and they submit all the information prior to prior to the city giving them a yes or no. They, however, go through their advisory board, but that's what the advisory board is for. My understanding, your advisory board does not do that.
No, they don't make recommendations, they don't make decisions, so, I mean, we still fill them in with the, as far as what the league is required, we inform them, hey, like, starting next year, just an FYI, ladies and gentlemen, council has said that they're gonna start charging $10 for every kid now. We don't make, you said about making money, we don't make any money, We lose close to about $200,000 a year just on maintaining fields, and we don't get anything from the leagues, right? So now council has said, effective next year, if it stays as is, we're gonna charge $10 for every kid and replenish a little bit of money back for maintaining other fields. So, yeah, but going back to the advisory, they, you know, we'll present that to them, hey, you know, the council, this is what they're telling us, you know, but they don't make the decisions, we just advise them for that.
So we presented the information, we presented it to Coach, and they did a response. We presented that response as well as the report to city managers and to Mr. Salmon and Mr. Mia. And everything, that was the only partial, they agreed to all of them except for that one. They were like, no, we were not gonna take it to our advisory board because our board does not function that way. And of course, that is up to them. But one of the recommendation primarily was for them to do the application and receive everything prior to signing off. We did also recommend policies and procedures to be written on how to do the process of the applications, as well as,
We also meet with the leagues.
there you go.
We meet with the leagues prior, say, look, guys, this is what you need, and this is what we expect, I even took one time we even took a CPA, to go show them they wanna give a nonprofit, whatever they wanted to do. So we guide them, and we sit down with them and we tell them, okay, and we do that normally before we give them the contract. We normally give them the contract in November. So we meet with them sometime in about middle of October, so we can have time to understand. You know, I know most of the leagues know the process now. Some of them, they still wanna be able to get away with things, you know, old school style, and trying to find loopholes. But I think like anything else, if you're very consistent with everybody, that takes away, that takes a lot of those little headaches that but that's what we're gonna do with the.
And to strengthen the contract, not only strengthen the contract, but also clarify a lot of the wordings in the contract of the stipulations and the requirements. One of them was just, and that's why so many of them didn't turn in the information, because when we asked for financial statements, they would turn in receipts. And those are not financial statements. So now with the Form N990N, that's basically your entire financial statements. And we're hoping to have a requirement as to not necessarily be certified by a CPA, but maybe for someone, an accountant or whoever can sign off on them and say, yes, these are correct. Because that way, that would be the best possible solution to have all their revenues, their expenses, everything having to do with the goings on with their leagues and because they also have the food handling,
Concession stand.
concession
That's
stand,
gonna be,
yes.
that's a nightmare, my experience in the past, keep track of that and cash, and other cash.
Yes.
Yeah. That's, you've been there, please. And that's,
But as much as possible to have that information, that would be greatly beneficial.
yeah.
Hello, is this the accountant?
Yes.
Sorry, guys, apologize.
Councilmember?
I got a whole mess here, sorry about that.
Ms. Figueroa, Councilmember Mercurio Martinez is here.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, sorry guys, I had an AC problem and waited for the AC guy to come
Nice.
to the house.
I think we've all.
Either him or my wife to show, one of the two to show up. So,
There's waters and refreshments if you like.
thank you. Please proceed, please. I'll catch up.
Yes. So there's an agenda. There's the agenda and then the presentation on the second. There you go. So we, basically just to, keep you apprised, sir, we're discussing the I'm sorry. The Little League, report,
Okay.
the field use license and agreement compliance audit. And we were going over the four major, findings that we saw. And it's basically, some of them, yes, they did comply and they didn't, there was a mixture of, they complied with some requirements and they didn't comply with others. The 501c status for this year, they all have their own 501c3 status, which was very important. Council have requested that. The 990N forms, that's in the process for them to submit for this year. A few submitted them, and then, but we're hoping for next year that they'll all be in compliance.
The question, would it come from this committee if they are not fully compliant that they not proceed with leasing from the city, the fields, until they're fully compliant?
I believe the committee itself does not have the authority, I don't think we have the motions.
Mhm.
It's more of a guidance, to me and then to the city council.
Okay, but we can identify those
Yes.
that are fully compliant.
Yes. But just to let you know, for the 990N forms, from what we understand is that since many of them became their own 501c3s barely, this year, they won't be able to comply until next year.
Right.
Yes.
I have another question along the line. We said earlier we were not making any money in there, that we were thinking about proposing a fee for each player. So we are charging for the field then.
Yes, we are, right?
No, not yet. That's
We're not-
effective next year.
Oh,
That was directly the council that gave us. Effective next year, we're gonna we expected to give $10 for every player,
But we're not gonna rent the fields. We're not leasing the fields, or lights or anything like that, just for players.
just for the players, yeah. And I gave her a presentation how different cities do. Some cities say, hey, we're gonna charge you for, say, $500 a month for every field. So let's say Rangel has 3 fields, $1,500, you all maintain it, and that's what some cities do. Some cities do it, hey, we charge per kid, right, $10, $15. Some cities says, hey, here are the keys, you maintain them, you take care of them, give it back to us November the 1st, and we'll take it from there. So but in presenting to council, as of right now, unless something changes, is they're gonna charging $10 per kid. That's
another question, concession, they'll be able to handle their own concessions?
Yeah, and that's the hardest
So
thing.
they can make the money and they can pay the money.
Yeah. So but that's the hardest thing, Councilman, that checks and balances, that they do.
And that's, I don't know, for internal control purpose, I mean, if you guys really suggested to them when this audit, what they can do to improve their internal controls when they handle so much cash and when they, how to, because they're gonna, those 990s, depending on who prepares them, if they don't have the expertise and the records are not proper, it's not gonna be worth, the IRS is not gonna look at those 90 very closely, okay? So, I think we need to help, my suggestion, we need to help them to better account for the money.
Talking about the concessions, is it something that they're gonna handle, they're gonna do? Are they gonna sublease it to get someone in there? Is it gonna, because then we're gonna need whoever they're getting in to do, we need their records, their food handlers, or make sure that no one's getting sick on our, on our hand or anything like that.
They do, it's part of the requirements that they have food handling,
And do we review
certain-
that?
Yes.
They cannot, move forward until they actually turn the certificate, the food certificate.
And is that like so they're getting their own people, so is it like
Yes.
a sublease or is it
No,
like?
it's their own league, pretty much running the
Okay.
moms and dads, and volunteers running the consensus stand.
Is that stated within the contract?
Yes.
The most important, requirements, really, it is the financials, but mostly it's the insurance and background checks. Mostly because, we are dealing with children.
Right.
And that was another situation with background checks that we need to tighten those requirements because we do require background checks, but we don't require them to be national. And we should. Some of them, it's every 2 years. Things happen, even in months.
Yeah.
And we also don't have, if it's against children, any crime against children, that's what pops up.
Right.
And that's where you say, no, you can't be a part of it. But we've had domestic violence, we've had other situations that pop up, and there's no clarification within the contract, and that's another thing that we did tell Coach. We need to look at it, you need to look at it, it needs to be strengthened, because
Definitely.
we don't want,
Definitely.
we don't want that. So those are all things that came up within this audit. And more than anything, we just want to make sure that the children are safe and minimize the risk of the city.
And just a little bit on the background checks, like I said earlier, there's so many different types. Pony League has theirs, for example. Little League has theirs. Cal Ripken has theirs. So some of them, this is good for 2 years, and now it's only good for 1 year. And that's, so if we sit down, once we sit down here in July and say, okay, these are the ones we're going to accept,
Right.
and we can be specific, and that way, and then we can all follow the same guidelines.
And then speaking of safety, is there any kind of security out there? Is that on them? Do they have to provide that on
That
them?
is on them, yeah. And it's good, funny you say it, because one of our, Rafa Martinez, our Parks Board member, asked the same question about safety. And we can put it in the contract that, it requires some type of security, which that's one of the ideas that we're saying, that we're gonna at least have some type of security during the games, for safety reasons.
Yeah.
And going back to backgrounds, I mean, one of the situations that arose was that one league was saying, well, do I have to get my own background on this particular person because he also is a volunteer for this other league? I'm like, yes, you have to have your own.
Yeah.
So, again, just strengthening the contract that we are supplying for these leagues.
Yeah, I've seen this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this one. Let's go with it. Thanks.
Any other questions regarding this?
Yes, I just have a quick question. Will we be bringing these recommendations to council?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the report was sent out today, mostly because it is a lengthy report. We send it out to the council for them to peruse and review for this upcoming council meeting. And then on Friday, I will be sending a summarization highlighting the most, the recommendations and the responses as well.
Great, thank you.
Any questions, council member?
If I can just say a few words, I'm just in closing, like I said earlier, we're using this as a learning tool and helping us to better improve our process, making sure that, we've come a long ways, and proud of my staff. There's a couple of things that, we can do better, and one of the things is that we need to do is like make sure when we put a deadline, it's just due this time, as a third party saying, and that's gonna alleviate a lot of, well, this one got slipped in, this one didn't get signed. And hey, guys, it's due, whatever, February 1st, everything's gotta be ready to go, no more excuses, everybody's got their 501c. And, you know, who are my background checks and everything go, so that we can have it ready and we're not chasing our tail, there towards the end to get these leaks, because these guys, they turn it into you, and the next day, yeah, we're ready to play it. Hey, wait a minute, man. I mean, we want you to play, but audit has to check it, legal has to check it. You know, we gotta put it could be 30 to 45 days. I mean, so, but they turn it in, for example, the week before spring break, because they already promised the league, they already collected the money to start spring break. So it's gonna look bad on them and say, hey, pues, how come we haven't started? And those were the calls that we were getting at March. Hey, pues, how come the city's not letting it? Because your league is not.
In my experience with coaching, going back to coaching, like if the city does not permit us to use the field, and you got all the parents and all the kids there, you know, how are you gonna tell the parents and the kids that they can't use the field? I mean, are we gonna be that? I mean, how committed are we enforcing? It's tough. You know, it's gonna be tough.
No,
Let's say you got that league that's not that new league that you're saying.
We're still getting kickback right now. They haven't started yet. We're still getting kickback on the pushback on.
But what if they? What do we mean they haven't started?
Their contract is not. The one league has not started yet because they're having.
And the kids and the parents are not showing up to the field.
Those are the ones that came to city council.
Okay, well, I haven't followed this.
We had a full, a bunch
Well,
of
that's what I'm
kids
telling
there.
you. It's gonna be very hard to enforce.
That's why I thought I was a bad guy for it.
So when do the leagues start?
Normally they start around spring break. Between spring break.
So
to
you wanna
April
be
1st.
ready with all the documentation at least 1 month or 2 months
Yeah,
before?
February 1st. We give it to them in October.
Oh, in October to fill out,
Yeah,
and then
there
you
you
want
go.
them done by February 1st so that spring break comes around.
Yeah.
They give us 30 days to evaluate them, look at them. All right, March 1st comes around, all right, here's contracts, here you go. And start, you're good to go, you know? But they're not used to that, tell me before you want it. They're all, hey, órale, pues métese, comiencen y
Well,
abren
before they even have, I saw the folder on some of these guys that were 2 pages.
Yeah, right. So now council members of, okay, now we gotta follow these guidelines and I knew we were gonna get pushback, especially when everybody got their own 501c. No, but that was
I don't know if they got it. I mean, you guys did an amazing job. If they got it.
no, they got it, but we hope, thanks to them, we hold the line, and I'm pretty sure you got phone calls and the council, Cigarroa got phone calls, everybody, hey, come on, let the kids play. No, we say we want to fight.
You had one league member that controlled all the fields in my district. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. All right, let's see, are you compliant? No, that's the only way we got rid of them. Go get compliant, otherwise you can't access the field. Boom.
Yeah. He decided he just jumped
Where
in.
we had only
So,
one, now
so
we
the
have
guy
about
showed
3
up to the
people
field with the
controlling
players and everything.
fields.
You guys actually told him to leave and he left.
No, he didn't want to go through the process of doing all this stuff. Nah,
Yeah.
I don't want to go through all that stuff.
He didn't wanna go through all that, so now he's over at District 8 trying to get in, and he brings all of his kids that wanna play to council to see if we can get him a sympathy vote, trying to get him in. But if we have rules and regulations, thanks to Mr. Gomez here, since he came on board, he put in rules, regulations, and this is the list. It applies to Peter and it applies to Paul and everybody else in between.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, you don't play.
And yes, you're correct, it's coach but city council did their ordinance.
Mhm.
Why are they being allowed to play? It's yes, because of the children, and there is no benefit to anybody but the children. And that's the ordinance, they're allowed to play because, like Coach says, it is very, very costly to maintain these
Well,
fields.
you're a kid you wanna be in a league, you join a league thinking you're in a nationally organized league, but yet, so you're paying these league fees to have your kid in there, and it turns out that, the league the coach or whoever put this league together hasn't been part of that league in years. And so those fees still apply, but where are those fees going? All right, in this case, show us that you're compliant with the league and oh, okay, so those fees are actually going to the leagues.
To their affiliation.
That are affiliation, yes. Keeps everybody honest.
But we can get better at it, and but we will have learn from this, and, thank you to her staff and, working with us, and Tina and your staff, and, I view it as a learning process, and hopefully we can improve and, make it work for everyone.
No, in this one in particular, Ms. Elia was the auditor in charge, and she's a veteran because she's done this audit for, this
Got a bunch of screaming.
is the third time.
Yeah, they got phone calls too,
We all got phone calls, yes,
I bet.
and
What's the total cost to the city to operate all these fields, the electricity and the maintenance of the fields and the workers and blah, blah, blah?
I presented that to the Parks Board. I'm gonna go off the top of my head. So materials, working on fields, electricity, light, from the month of March the 1st to the end of October 31st, on the average. And now I couldn't base myself on 2021 because it was stop go, right? So I went with previous years, 2020, I'm sorry, 2019, and it was close to about $1.1 million with everything. Light, water, dirt, maintenance, I'm talking about all the leaks, about close to about a little bit over $1 million that we spend just on all that.
And that was going to Councilman's district?
Yeah, so it's just, and that was in 2019, that when things were cheaper though, so, this year I'll have a better idea how much we can do, because we'll have a full year in 2022.
Because Slaughter Parks gets used like crazy, and that's in my district, and it's,
Well, Del Mar and Hillside.
yeah.
See, but
Benavides Fields.
yeah, but como dice Councilman, there was only one guy running the whole show there. So you had to go through him. Why didn't they go through Parks? No, you have to go through, come on, I was like, he had a key and everything.
When I came on board, just so y'all know, when I came on board, one guy controlled all those fields and concession stands. And when I asked Parks for the keys to the concession stand booth, I wanted to see the condition of them, they didn't even have keys. And I go to that one guy, and that guy was non-compliant, completely.
So now we have 3 leagues playing there in Slaughter. That's good.
And everybody gets to enjoy the fields.
Yep. We need to turf them. Anyway, that's another discussion.
That's another $1 million.
any other questions regarding this? So that one's the one that's completed, for the upcoming other reviews that we are doing is the B, Solid Waste Department Operations Review. That was part of our annual audit plan. The Vehicles Repairs Process Review, again, that's another one that's, all of these are actually in the audit plan.
They're in the process right now?
Yes, they're in the process. Are unannounced cash audits that, I'm sorry, I did not put, prior to it, sir. A little bit more. It's.
We're still on fire.
Yes. We still perform cash audits, just spot checks for, throughout the, all the revenue receiving, points that the city has, as well as the inventory, and that's just, to keep us out there and, for them to know that we go and check.
Which is the largest, the bridge or what, where you get the most money to catch?
The bridge and tax. Tax is around $95 million. Bridge is I'm gonna say, just as much, but 50% goes to the, general fund, and the other 50% they get in their enterprise fund. From what I remember, utilities also has around $70 million, both in sewage and, water. Because it's 43 million for water and around 30 some million dollars in sewage.
But you get to 2 points of where they receive cash, and that's here at City Hall and at the
Yes.
Utilities Department.
And we check those,
Okay.
yes.
And you just show up unannounced, or what?
We show
Give
up.
me your
and-
cash box,
Mhm, yes,
and you go through whatever they've inputted and to make sure it's there.
exactly. Reports are taken out, and we review their cash, less their change fund, and make sure everything is, their receipts equals their cash on hand.
There's no leaks before you get there?
No.
What's the process when the cash box is short?
They are written up, and we need a response to, depending on the percentage, the amount, there's a response from management regarding those.
So you do have a supervisor overlooking all
Yes. And actually, it's the supervisor that takes out the reports. So the last one is the evaluation of city policies for potential cost savings. This one in particular, we're looking at the city policies. They're a little outdated. Some of them are from the 90s. So we really want to look at them, make recommendations to strengthen them, and perhaps have potential cost savings.
Can you give me an example of one that you found back in the 90s that was such a good cost-saving department?
Payroll. Payroll has not been updated since the early 90s, right? And that one right now, one of our recommendations, we have it it's minute per minute, when we do when we give out, or when comp time is accumulated. And as per DOL, there is a situation that there's an 8-minute rule, that if you're here for 8 minutes before or after, it pushes you back to 8 o'clock. And that way, it's mostly because if there's lines, and so you won't be late, it goes back to 8 o'clock, it punches you in at 8 o'clock. And you also don't start accumulating the 5-10 minutes that some people can, yes. And it's not a lot, but it does add up. There's also the travels, the food, and those are the type of policies that we're looking at. So those are the reports that we're doing as of right now. The next number, Roman numeral 6, it's administrative. And I just wanted to let you know, the ordinance, I don't know if you have the ordinance for the Audit and Accountability Committee. So basically, it's ordinance 2020-097. And it stipulates that the mayor and city council concluded it was necessary to establish an audit and accountability committee to provide guidance and oversight of the office of the internal auditor, and provide recommendations to city council on the risks, efficiencies, improvements, and fiscal responsibilities of the city, and further clarifying the role and authority of the internal auditor and the internal audit office to produce analytical audit reports with emphasis on providing an independent and objective evaluation of the city's risk exposures, reliability and integrity of financial and operational information, safeguarding of assets, and compliance with laws, grants, and contracts. And the reason I put administrative is this is our very first meeting. And I wanted to let you know this is what we're doing. So that was the ordinance for this particular committee. The overview of the internal audit division is basically, this division conducts independent and objective reviews of the City of Laredo operations and procedures and reports findings and recommendations to the city manager and to city council. In order to accomplish our objectives, we perform the following: evaluate the adequacy of internal control structure, assess compliance with written policies and procedures, as well as state and federal laws and regulations, evaluate the reliability, integrity of accounting, reporting systems and procedures, verify the existence of assets and ensure proper safeguards for their protection, review effectiveness and efficiency of city's resources, make appropriate constructive suggestions and recommendations, and investigate reported occurrences of fraud, embezzlement, theft, waste, etc., and recommend controls to prevent or detect such occurrences. In performing these activities, the auditor is authorized to have full, free, and unrestricted access to all property, personnel, and records relevant to the subject under review. So yes, one of our major objectives is to look at the internal controls of the city and to assess the compliance with written policies and procedures. And one will sound like a broken record because we will be saying this. We told Coach, we told building, we have no policies and procedures, written policies and procedures. We have no standard operating procedures. We can't really go and audit if we don't have that. So one of the things that we will be asking, or as a recommendation for many of these audits, the first thing will be, you need to write down your policies and procedures.
Okay, so we need to do policies and procedures, I guess amongst us, and then submit it to you, submit it to council?
It would, actually, the policies and procedures come from the departments themselves,
okay.
yes. And that's actually a very good point, because even our division should have our should have policies and procedures. Those will be forthcoming. I have some that I had from my previous work that I was able to, they gave them to me, and I just need to update them.
One of the things that it says here is, evaluate the city's risks for the reliable integrity of financial and operational information, safeguarding the vast compliance with laws, grants, and contracts. Laws, grants, and contracts. What I noticed on council is that we had an ordinance that was written. The ordinance was brought to council and adopted by council, written by our legal team at that time. And when I read it, it was and I'm not an attorney, but it was in direct conflict with our city charter. So much so that I had to introduce an ordinance that would reverse that. So I would suggest that your office, when ordinances are written and adopted by council, or even before it goes to agenda item, and maybe you get a hold of something like that, because it's supposed to be coming from our legal department. But if our legal department's writing them too, then they need to get, they need to make sure that somebody's looking over their shoulder, that they don't conflict with our city charter. And if they do, they shouldn't be getting into council agendas.
Question. Am I understanding correctly? You're saying the city of Laredo departments do not have policies and procedure manuals?
Many
After
of
all
them
these years?
don't. Many of them don't, yes.
You have to be kidding me.
No.
It is.
That's
Unacceptable.
yeah, really is.
Wow. Another question. Okay. How involved do you get with the CAFRA? with the external auditors? Do you prepare some of the schedules?
No,
No, you don't?
No, we don't.
That's the way to cut the cost. Where I used to work in other places, the city, I used to work with the city of Austin back in the early '80s, for about 3-4 years. And we got involved with preparing the schedule. And that would cut the cost of the audit significantly. Okay?
No.
I mean, I want to tell you,
No, but I mean, you're a CPA, I mean, we need to hear this.
and I work for municipalities.
Mhm.
I prepared the CAFRA. All right. That just blows my mind. That's real bad.
Can you pass me one of your mini pens?
That's why I brought
Thank you.
So on that note, I also wanted to introduce you to my internal audit staff. For a city this large, it's only myself and three staff members, which is Ms. Elia Rodriguez, the internal auditor too. She has 17 years with the city, and she has both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. Mr. Francisco Mata, he's our compliance auditor. He's been with the city for 3 years, and he has his bachelor's degree. And Ms. Bianca Medellin, internal audit 1. She's been here with the city for 2 years, almost 3, if I'm not mistaken. And she both has her bachelor's degree and master's degree. So we are a small, we're a small division. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up with their degrees and part of the ordinance is that we need to be certified, or we're encouraged to be certified, not necessarily that we have to. So I am also proposing our budget for this upcoming year. This is just our budget expenditures. It went up a little. The personnel, we really, we don't have any say-so on the personnel. That's more payroll and how workers' comp and all of that is being calculated. However, the following page, I did request $10,000 for the following. It's study materials for the certification, which is $4,000. It's $1,000 per person. And basically, it's either for the CIA, or even the CFE or other certifications that the IA does provide. I do encourage the CFE, which is a Certified Fraud Examiners. That really is something that it gives you investigative techniques, it gives you forensic accounting. So that's something that I would encourage any one of my staff members to actually go and apply.
Or any of you CPAs?
No, sir.
Is that gonna be encouraged?
CPAs would also be encouraged.
I propose that you put that in your budget. Too much water. Where's the restrooms after that?
Towards council chambers.
Straight back that one.
So, and that was for $4,000. There's also food and ice for committee and management meetings, $250. The professional development travel expenses for certification. Unfortunately, Laredo does not have certification centers to test for here in Laredo, so you either have, to complete these exams, it either has to be in San Antonio or in Corpus. So if we are requiring these or we're encouraging these, we are asking for $2,784. And then the license and permit fees, it's the application and exam fees, it's $3,500. And I just included the rental of equipment because our copier machine did go up. So again, this is just the proposed, and I hope that come budget time, it's approved.
So you are asking for $422,968,
Yes. From,
$45,240 difference.
and really, it's the $10,000 that was. So the, another, so that's our budget, and then, just wanted to establish the upcoming committee meetings, to have more of a, fixed date and, fixed day and time, and, location, if need be. I know 5:30, works for Mr. Felix Velasquez, and, for you as well, I believe, and I think Dr. Martinez also said 5:30 works best for him. But I would like for it to be sometime in September. I know August, especially for, council members, budget is coming. And those are that's a long week. So, but come September, I do want to present the annual audit plan. And if we can establish, the time and date, that would be very beneficial for me. And for you as well. So I don't know if you want to every 2 months meet or once a quarter.
Okay, so long as they're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the more often than not, you know, more frequently than not. As far as me, like I said, 5:30s are fine with me. Wednesdays are just tough because I have like 3 meetings at work on Wednesdays. But I mean, I can manage.
But would Tuesdays be better? Ms. Ibarra, would Tuesdays be, work better for you?
Yes, Tuesdays are fine. Tuesdays
Tuesdays.
or Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll work around whatever schedule you put.
okay. Would you, would Tuesdays, be,
Used to be better for me.
okay, Tuesdays. Is this location okay? This is fine? Or Public Works, or?
No, it's fine.
This is fine.
Where's your office, over there off of Calton, or?
Yeah, hillside.
And where's your office at?
I'm at Gateway Community Health Center, so I'm on
You're at
Papa
Gateway?
Street.
Okay. We have the,
Public Work, and we're at Public Works.
you're at Public Works, and
I
you
mean,
know where that's
down-
at? It's
yeah,
over by the
down by Hillside,
WCA
yeah.
offices. Is that better for you guys, or not? Or-
Doesn't
This is
matter.
fine.
Doesn't
Is this
matter.
okay, this
Yeah,
is
that's
fine?
fine.
Okay,
Okay.
it's a straight shot, you know, boom,
Mhm.
35, and then,
Yeah.
So I will, then Tuesdays at 5:30 here. Then I will be sending out, and preparing something for, sometime in September. And,
One of the things that I mentioned earlier, Councilman, before you got here, is, and I asked if the external auditors still prepare management letter comments. Those are very important, okay? And they need to be, I would think, that they're already being addressed by your
Yes.
department, especially the ones that are cost savings for taxpayers' money.
yeah.
Okay, the ones, you can prioritize which are the ones that are, you really get to. Like, if they're 30, how many do you get?
they're not that
How
many.
many? You're doing a good job then. You don't have to answer.
No, the thing
No, but I was
is,
gonna suggest is, you know, if you bring a copy of that, share it with you and the rest of the committee members, so you can.
I have a copy, but, I actually,
Because one of the things that would happen, Council, is that, like when I work for the city, is, City of Boston. Like, they would always present they would repeat, and we don't want that. We don't want the same comments to repeat 3, 4 years in a row, okay, that means that you're not getting to them,
Yeah.
okay?
They're
this is
just
really,
copying and pasting.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to it, okay, thank you for your comments,
Yeah.
but we never get to actually,
it's actually this was last year's, and I do not believe they
Really?
changed from this
That
year's.
all?
Yes.
wow,
I will send you the most updated one.
wow. Man. I usually see a lot more.
Yes.
Good job. The golf course.
By the way, Chris, we need to talk about the golf course.
But I will send you the
All right.
most updated one.
The fields, the greens. You're a golfer, right?
I don't go, yeah. I haven't been to the
You
max.
don't go to the max?
No, because I got my knees operated,
Oh.
so I haven't played like in over 2 years. Really?
Oh, but you
Respect.
have good. Brother-in-law skiing, so,
Yeah.
and he's got operated knees and he's so much better now. He said he should have done it.
The left one is a lot better, the right one is still recuperating.
Any other questions, matters, or anything?
No,
Yes.
speaking of food and ice, you brought some food and ice.
Yes. Ms. Cigarroa, anything else that, any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, then,
Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.